Hey guys, welcome to another late night, early morning edition of Thorough Capping. This is for Saratoga today or tomorrow. Today, it's 12:27 here on the East Coast, July 30th, and I'm starting with race number 2. Okay, we will go back and forth with the PPs. Race number 1 was another one of these dreaded 2-year-old maiden special weights. And I started to toy around with some things here, but at the same time, I could probably take a gander at different horses and maybe give you guys an idea of horses that I like on here. But at the same time, I want to stick to the theme, which has been the thorough capping and the factors and everything, which begins really in race number 2. All right, race number 2 is on 1 mile on the dirt, and they have a funky looking course here for the mile. Okay, it's really like a turn and a half, really. So I mean, when you're doing target ratings to go along with the other video I did tonight to make adjustments, I wouldn't do a full 5 points added or subtracted if you're going from a sprint to a 1 turn to a mile at a place like Saratoga or even Belmont, because Belmont has the mile starts way back here, and it's a 1-turn mile. I would only do 3 points for that adjustment. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, take a look at my video 2 back. That's titled Adjusting Target Ratings to Distance, Surface, and Track Variance. Okay, so let's take a look at this race. It's 1 mile, 16,902 lifetime. If we go to the grid here, matrix side, we got the 3-horse standing out in multiple figures, with the exception of the target Briz. He is my target horse. Top speed rating getter with a 77.7, followed by the 8, followed by the 7, and then I had to separate the 2 and the 4. I actually put the 2 in front of the 7 because of the final fraction. Okay, so the 2 is the top final fraction horse, and I ranked him 3rd out of the 4. And again, I say this over and over again, it doesn't matter how I'm ranking them, because right now the theme has been, let's look for 9-2 or better value and see how this does over an extended period of time at playing $2 to win, even though I'm playing more, either 3 or 5, depending on how many horses I'm betting in that race, on the horses that show up in the ratings and are above 9-2. So if that means betting 4 of them, we're betting 4 of them. Okay, that's the only time I will be doing actual $2 wagers. If I have to bet 4, I will not be doing $3 wagers. If I have 3 horses I'm going to bet, I'll do $3 a piece. If there's 2 horses or 1 horse, I'll do $5. Just to keep the value down and keep my opportunity for ROI in the long run. Keep it the chances higher or better. I don't even know what I'm saying right now. But anyways, move to race number 3. Race number 3 was another race that I felt was a playable race. It was a mile 16th on the turf, maiden, but it was a maiden for 3-year-olds and upward. So we had some horses with some running lines, some pace lines we were able to look at. I think we may have had 1 first-time starter. Yeah, the 7-horse, and I tossed him. And, it is IRAD for Pletcher, and he very well could beat me here. But at the same time, I'm not going to dig through these workouts. I wouldn't know what to look at anyway. I mean, full disclosure, my weakness is trying to disseminate workout patterns, because people that follow workouts, they also watch workouts, and they get the workout sheets, and they have subscriptions, and the subscriptions give the workout grades: B-, B+, A-, C+, and so forth. And those individuals, handicappers, rely heavily on those sheets along with anything else that they look at. I I don't look at them sheets. I don't subscribe to them. So I told you before, there's certain patterns that I look for in workouts, but I look for them patterns in races that have a lot of first-time starters, and those are the patterns I look for. But however, looking at this race, we have full 10 horse field with a coupled entry here, 1-1A. The 1 horse and the 1A both figure for me here, but I listed them as 1 horse only because if one scratches, the other one is still in there. And I also have the 8, 9, and 10. I ranked them 8, 1, 9, 10. So really, I'm ranking both of these under the 1 because if one scratches out, the other one qualifies for me, speed rating wise. I mean, TC rating. The 8 horse is my target horse and ability horse. If I remember correctly, the 8 horse is a price. Rosario at 12-1 morning line. Coming off 2 good races when you eyeball them. And then obviously when you do the numbers and the figures, it's showing up well as well. So the 8 is my top play in race number 3. Over top of the 1, 9, and the 10. This ranking may change if the 1 horse, the solid one, is the one that scratches. But again, this is just to kind of structure things. Doesn't matter. And I'll be looking for value. These horses here, the 1, 8, 9, and 10, we're probably going to get that 9-2 value on the 8 and the 10, 20-1 morning line. So those are the 2 horses that we'll probably be getting our value from. And if they're the only 2, then I'll be doing a $5 wager on both of them and not a $3 wager. Okay, moving on to the next race. Race number 4. Race number 4 was another playable race that I thought. It is a 50,000 starter allowance at 6 furlongs on the dirt. And as I said before in my other video, when you get 6 furlong dirt races, you get so many pace lines, well, not so much here, but that you're able to pull 6 furlong ratings from. Last out, and then you're able to dig back here. You're almost guaranteed to be able to find, even the 7 furlong, you use the 15, or the 111.3 would be 15.18. It's an 82. I would use that 82 rating there. I'm okay with that. And then, you're always able to find something for the most part. Okay, in this race, I have 5 horses listed. The reason I have 5 listed is because there is a coupled entry, the 1 and the 1A. I do not like the 1. So, if the 1A is the one that scratches out of this race, if either of them scratch, if the 1A scratches, the 8 moves into favoritism. If the 1A runs, there's probably a good chance that I'm not going to get 5 horses that are going to be at that 9-2 value. I still might be able to pull 3 of them out of there. I still may consider all 5 of them, 7, 4, 2, 1A, and the 8. And if we look at them real quick, I mean, the 1 and the 1A are 3-1 morning line odds, okay? So we're not going to get that 9-2 value most likely out of them. The other 4, 2, and 8. 4, 2, 7, and 8. The 2 may be a playable horse. The 4, pretty much, most definitely. This guy here is, I mean, he's a good rider, in my opinion. He's just got, a huge case of second-itis right now. He got his first win the other day on I think it was a 7-5 favorite. But, I mean, he runs really well. He rides really well. He has that weight allowance. And he's getting good horses, too. He's getting on good horses. So, we're looking at 15-1 value here. You might see this kid break out and have a day where he wins a couple races and not just one. The other one was the 8, 4-1. And the 7 was my top play, 2-1 morning line. So we will not be getting any win value probably on the 1A or the 7. But the 2, 4, 8, you keep your eye out on. We may get something there. Race number 7. 13 horses. 13 isn't also eligible. I did include him in the handicapping, just in case there's a scratch and he gets in. And sure enough, I mean, he does figure for me, but I did list 5 horses. In case the 13 does scratch, we're down to 11, 9, 2, and 1. The 11 horse stands out as my target ability. Also, top target Briz. The 9 horse is my top final fraction horse, and he's 3rd in TC rating. 13 comes in 2nd, but again, we might not even see that 13 run, and that's why I labeled 2 in blue here for the speed cube, because the 2 horse finishes what would be 1st in that speed cube if the 13 scratches out of this race. But if we look for value here, 11, 9, 13, 2, 1. In that order, we go 11. Where am I? What's going on here now? I see I always manage to make one mistake. Oh, the 5th and the 6th. I'm going to go back to them. All right, but let me go do this 7 here. The 11, 9, 13, 2, 1. The 11 horse is 9 to 2. Ortiz for Pletcher. We're probably not going to get 9 to 2. We may not. It is a large field. Money could be spread around. The 9 horse, that's questionable as well. Horse is making 2 moves in the race. Last race out. Turn move and a small stretch move. The 13, he also eligible if he gets in. We will get value on that horse. And then we have the 2 and the 1. 7 to 2, no. And then 20 to 1, possibly. So, I mean, we have 11, 9, 13, 2, 1. And I'm sticking to it. Now, let's go back here. Really for race number 5. Okay. 6th, again, is another 2-year-old main special weight. I mean, I kind of like the pattern here. I see a bullet. I see works every 7 or 8 days. Finishes with another bullet. But at the same time, again, I'm somewhat lost when it comes to this. Here's another one I like. There's the value right there, I think. 8 to 1. We have a bullet work. And then 6 days, 7 days. Then he takes a little bit of more of a gap there, but then comes back 7 days later. Tyler Gaffleone. But let's look at the race number 5. And this is the reason I toss race 5. Race 5 is a marathon. 1 of 2. There's 2 on the card today. And I'm actually passing on both of them. And this goes hand in hand with my video on adjusting target ratings. As you can see, I started doing this race. And I was drawing some target ratings. But at the same time, we're dealing with these variants with marathon distances. I'm making adjustments, adjusting the 118 down to a 113 based on the stuff I talked about in the other video. But then I'm coming down here, and you know what? If every horse was coming off this tandem race, let's say they were all coming out of this 1 3/8 race, or they were all coming out of marathon races, I'd be okay with that. But we move down here, you know, I'm dealing with mile 16ths, 1 mile, and I'm not able to pull any of those figures off of these times that are comparable. Now, here's the other thing that I looked at. Making the adjustments based on this here, I'm not very comfortable with that. I'm really not. And I'm okay to say that because there's probably not a large enough of a sample size of 1 3/8 races anyway to be able to determine that variant right there. -23 and -28. And then we have a -21 and a -10 on a 1 3/8. And it was just too much manipulation of the numbers. We have the 3 horse is a 114.4 at a 1.25 miles, opposed to the 1:18 on the 1 3/8, but yet He's only a +1, +5. So if I were to do this rating here, that's a 66. And up here, I got a 75, but I don't know if I'm making my adjustments the right way. So I said before, you could play around with this, but at the same time, if you're not comfortable with it, just pass the race. You know, I wanted to go down one from here and find some. Now we have a +10, +18, and then we have a 1 mile, but that's at a +13. But a 1 mile is not comparable to, you know, the distances. And the other thing with marathon races, in case you're not aware, this is something new for you, possibly. The first call in a marathon race, anything over 1.1 miles, the first call is the half mile. The second call in a marathon race is actually the mile. Okay? So this represents the mile in a marathon, and this represents the half. Okay? The start is actually the quarter, but these are the two calls. But we're getting our ratings off of the 118, but at the same time, how are we going to adjust here? We don't have a variable for the 3/4 time, which is the 118. And that was the other reason that I was playing around it, because when I decided, hey, listen, there's enough here that I can put my time and effort in and make the adjustments. We have enough marathon races to look at here. I can make. Then I said, wait a second, this is not even represented in here, and I wouldn't even know what standard to use off of a mile. You know, I could have. You could set a standard, I guess, and use a 140. But then when it comes time to do these horses down here, you know, you're doing it off of 108, and it just skews everything. And it's just so I decided to pass the marathon races, and there's another one coming up, and I passed on that as well. Like I said before, I don't need to play them all. Race number 7, we went over 7. Now we go to race 8. Race 8 was the mile maiden claiming, and this race was filled with a lot of, for a lack of a better term, failed straight maidens dropping into maiden claiming ranks for a price tag. And we also have some pretty bad failing maiden claimers in this race as well. So my opinion is the winner is going to come out of probably one of the class droppers. But let's look at the chart real fast. I tossed the 3, 4, 5, 9, and 11. Narrowed it down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 horses. 7 is my target. Top point getter is the 6, but only by 0.2 of a point. But the 7 is my top play here. 7, 10, 6, 2. The 10 horse is showing up as well on the grid. If we look for value here, the 7 is an 8-1 morning line. Castellano for Bruce Levine. And the 10 is the 7-2, probably second choice. Yeah. Now here's the one I'm going to try to beat. This 8 horse, the morning line is being made on this 8 horse at 5-2. And I run the numbers, and I'm getting a 59 on the target. It's a horrible race last out. Okay, it wasn't a trouble trip or anything. There was nothing that says, you know, bumped the start, broke poorly, whatever. It was a poorly run race. Yeah, he's coming out of a maiden 56,000, but so are a lot of these other horses. They're all coming out of, you know, all these contenders, I should call them, are coming out of maiden special weights. What's so special about this horse that he should be at 5-2? He was 22-1. Almost 23-1 last time. Wasn't in a key race or anything. It's not like these 3 are in italics and he just ran against just a bunch of beasts. I mean, he ran 9th out of 10 horses and he lost by 21 lengths at a mile 16th. Comes back at a mile today. Even at a mile at the stretch call, he was out at about by 16 lengths. Listed at 5-2. Fails miserably on my chart. You know, and I gave him the point for the class drop, the point for the trainer rating, but he doesn't show up. So, I mean, in my opinion, that horse is not going to be favored tomorrow. That's just my guess. You're probably going to see that horse tomorrow, probably around 4-1 or 5-1. I could be totally off there. But if you guys are seeing what I'm seeing, you're probably agreeing with me. If there's something else that you might be seeing that I don't see, throw it into comments. We can go 2 back to this race here at a mile. That's probably what the morning line guy is looking at. He's probably tossing this race, thinking that the public is going to go and toss this race. But even when I toss that race, I get a 72 on the ability, and it's still not good enough. I mean, it's a 72 on ability, and it's also at the second call, a plus 11. So that race was a little faster at the second call than normal. And I'm not saying that I was taking that into consideration, but I'm looking at it right now, and I'm saying there's nothing that scares me about this horse. Even leaving him out of a multi-wager, a pick 4 or pick 5, which I don't know if I'm going to play tomorrow, I wouldn't even second guess that. Okay, and then finally, that's it. I'm going to show you why I passed the 9. Race 9 is another marathon race, 1 3/8. Let's take a look at our runners. 1 1/8, you're going to find that the 6 furlong times are going to be a lot faster than 1.25 miles, than the marathon distances, okay? Now, granted, this was a 1:12 which isn't bad, but at the same time, you look at, we have double digits here in both calls. And again, the first call is the half, and the second call in a marathon is the mile. But at the same time, if you put the 2 and 2 together, the splits are probably faster than normal as well. And I'm just trying to kind of think back as to why I'm... And again, as you can see, I didn't toss this race simply because it was a 1 3/8. I tried to make it work. I did my qualitative stuff on it. I identified the moves. There's a move there. There's a wide move on the turn. So I'm content tomorrow, if I'm looking at this race and I want to play it, I'm content just kind of qualitatively handicapping it for things. I might even look at the late pace. We have a 108 here. This is where I might rely on the Briz, what Briz is telling me more than what my matrix factors are telling me. Might lean on late pace, being that it is a 1 3/8. It's on the turf. And just maybe put together an exacta or something based on horses that are showing well late, as well as having moves in the race. Here's another turn move. 2 back. And the shipper, he's the 8-5 morning line. And this guy's coming over, I think, to ride 1 race. So that might be something to consider as well. But that just goes with the trend that, you know what, don't hesitate to pass on a race if it's stumping you a little bit. And don't be bold enough to say that no race is going to stump me. If you feel like you're having a tough time coming up with accurate figs, then just move on past the race. And unfortunately, there wasn't another race to move on. The 10th race is another maiden special weight. This is 3-year-olds and upward. But at the same time, we do have a lot of first-timers mixed in, one-time runners. And this is a race that I think I could probably get around. But if I'm still even around the house tomorrow, I might even be around for the 10th race. If I am, I'll look at this race and I'll handicap it late. And if I see anything that stands out, I won't make a video, but I'll throw it in the comments. All right, so I want to thank those of you that have been following, for lack of a better term, religiously, and keeping track. I'm getting some emails. I'm getting a lot of emails, actually. Inquisitive emails, people asking questions, people showing that they're getting a handle on figuring out these ratings. I'm getting a lot of emails thanking me for horses that they had on the video, from the videos, and not so much from their own handicapping. And listen, I'm not doing this here totally to try to sell a tutorial. I'd like to think that enough of my videos have enough bits and pieces in there where you guys can pick up ideas, especially the qualitative end of it. And before I finish, the last thing I want to do is show you that something that I'm going to put into the thorough capping in the grid section. So when you download the grid, you can click on it. What it is I mentioned a few times Jim Lahane's calibration and handicapping. I'm not going to put his entire book in there, but it is this book is not published anymore, and I did speak with Jim Lahane through email a while back when I was putting together my matrix system, and I shared my entire matrix system with him, and I got his thoughts on it. There was a lot of things he liked about it, and I told him that I incorporated his final fractions, or his moves on a turn, I should say, his moves. A lot of the items he uses in his qualitative, I use in the qualitative scan, and he had said feel free to use any information that you have. And at the time, he had said his book is no longer in publication. He said as long as you give him credit for his work, and this is a very handy resource that comes from this book, Calibration and Handicapping. And what it is, it's converting final fractions from mile 16th races and mile and 8th races, converting to the 1 mile equivalent and the quarter mile equivalent. And I'll show you what I mean by that. We'll find a race here, and I'll just go to one of those marathon races. What was that? Race 9. And let's pull, and this is only for turf, by the way, guys. This is only for turf, not for dirt or synthetic. But let's look at this race right here. A mile and an eighth. And as you can see, we cannot pull a final quarter out of this race. Okay? This goes right from the mile to the eighth. So we have a final eighth right here, which would be 12 seconds. But if we go from the 6th furlong to the final time, which is the mile and eighth, and we do the math, that is a 35-1 difference. And then we go and we do the subtraction or addition based on lengths gained or lost, and there's 5. I don't count the half. That's 5 lengths lost. So that would be, again, a 35-1 minus 5, which would be a 30-1. Now, when you go to this chart here, for a mile and an eighth, you find 30-1, or 35-1. Sorry. Did I make a mistake? Yes, I did. Let me go back again so I'm not confusing anybody here. This is a 35-1 minus 5, which is 1 full second, which would be a 34-1. Sorry. And if you notice 34-1 is actually off the chart. So what I would do is I would take another fifth off there. I would give that horse a 23-1 final fraction for that time. Now let's find one that's actually on the chart. We'll use the same race. Let's find a different horse. Mile and eighth, that's dirt. Come on now. Any other time, this would be so easy to find. All right, here we go. We have a 112-1 to a 150. That's 37-4. 37-4, and there's nothing gained or lost, so we leave it at a 37-4. When we go on the chart, we find 37-4, and the 37-4 equates to a 25-1 final fraction. Okay, and that's another reason why I passed on these marathon races, because the late speed is so important. I can't get a accurate final fraction off of a mile and 3/8 race. Mile and a quarter I can. Okay, but that final fraction is going to be a lot slower than off the mile and an eighth. And then down here we're looking at a mile and 16th. And the same thing goes, that chart will show you, if your question is how do you equate a final fraction on a mile 16th, you get the 6 furlong, because there's no mile time in there. You get the 6 furlong, and you go 114, the difference would be a 30 and 2 difference there. And then you just go from the call, second call to the finish, 30 and 2, and then there's 2 lengths. Again, take away the half. There's 2 lengths gain. That would be a 30 flat. And when you look on Jim Lehane's chart, a 30 flat equates to a 24 flat final fraction. So again, I'm going to take this chart. I'm going to make a copy of it, print screen, make a copy of it, and I'm going to put it into the ThoroughGrid where you downloaded off the tutorial, and you have all them tabs on the bottom, and each of those tabs represents a different type of grid, and you're going to have this there as a resource for you as well, for those that you who have purchased Thorough Capping. All right, made this video a little bit longer than I wanted to, but at the same time, hopefully you got something good out of it, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.